Welcome to Our Highest Work, a podcast where we are gathering and sharing the best ideas for spiritually based business and life success, and where we are aiming to gather a community of wise and loving mutual help. My name is George Cow, and in today's episode, I'm excited to share with you my 5-part framework for how to do good in the world. Now, I know that's broad, but specifically I'll be talking about what I'm calling mindful activism. So much of what we do in mindful activism is the things that we do outside of our business hours, outside of our work, although some of it does include how we improve our own industry. So anyway, I'm looking forward to sharing this episode with you. I think that you and I can make a big difference in the world if we know how to make that difference and we're persistent at it. So I welcome you here, and let me begin with today's quote. Today's quote is, "The idea that everything is purposeful really changes the way you live. To think that everything that you do has a ripple effect, that every word you speak, every action that you make affects other people and the planet." And this is by Victoria Moran, who said that. All right, so as I go on into the 5-part framework, I do want to encourage you to make comments on this episode to let me know what part of the framework most resonates with you, and any questions that you have, and any other ideas that come to you as you listen to this episode. I am still quite new in developing this 5-part framework, so I'm really open to your ideas and your questions. And to find our episode page where you can comment, if you're just listening and not watching the video, you can find our video, which is also our comments page, at ourhighestwork.com/23. Again, that's www.ourhighestwork.com/23. This is episode 23. And feel free to write as many comments as you like as you listen to the episode, and anything you hear that you want to remember, or any questions you have, any ideas you have, just feel free to write little comments, short comments as you go. All right, I'm sure your comments will be helpful for other watchers and listeners, but it will be certainly helpful for me to see that I'm truly engaging with you. Thank you. All right, so let me now go on to the 5-part framework, which I have actually created a mind map for. And so let me go ahead and share with you that mind map. Hopefully by now, if you have watched some of the other episodes, you know that I like to use mind mapping to organize my ideas and to share my ideas. And I hope you find it helpful as well. So let me go ahead and share this mind map with you. And you'll see it, those of you who are watching it will see it on the screen shortly, and I will make it bigger so that you can see it. Those of you who are listening can check out the full mind map when you go to our video page, and I will put the full mind map link in the description area of our video. And again, you can get there by going to www.ourhighestwork.com/23. Okay, so as usual, you can make the mind map larger when you actually get there yourself by clicking on the plus sign on the upper left of the mind map, and you can move around the mind map by clicking and dragging everywhere. Okay, so let's begin with the definition of mindful activism. So how I define mindful activism is doing activism mindfully, as you might say, is the easiest way to think about it. Activism is basically knowing that your every action, your every word creates a ripple effect in the world, and therefore setting an intention every day to be more mindfully living in the world so that your ripple effects are benign, at least benign, if not benevolent also. Okay? And why do we want to do mindful? Why is it important to us? Why is mindful activism important? It's because your every word and your every action gives permission to the people around you to also share those values. Let me say this in a different way. Your values are communicated through everything you say and everything you do. And the people who live with you, the people who work with you, even the people you see on the street as you walk down the street, you actually have an impact on what kind of values you are bringing into the world, whether it's values of compassion, whether it's values of honesty, whether it's values of joy, whether it's values of being good to the environment and being good to other people. These are communicated through your words and your actions, and you actually give other people permission to tap into those positive values and to match their actions with it. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of, in my industry, in my business of online marketing and coaching people on this stuff, I've learned from a lot of people to do things that I look back and I wasn't so happy that I did them. Things in marketing that now I look back and realize, gosh, those things were manipulative and I no longer want to do them. But because I saw so many of my peers doing them, it gave me permission to also take those manipulative actions. If I saw a lot of my peers doing something that initially I think, well, that must be manipulative, isn't it? But if so many people are doing it, it must be okay. Do you see what I mean? So I have decided to stand up for marketing that I consider now to be not manipulative, and I know if I do marketing in a way that's I know is aligned with my heart, I know that it will give permission to people around me to say, well, gosh, if George can do it, then maybe I can do it too. If George is doing that kind of marketing and finding success with it, well, maybe I can do it too. And then if you do that kind of marketing and find success with it, well, then more and more people will do that too. Do you see what I mean? Similarly, if my neighbors see that we compost, that we recycle, consistently, then they go, well, gosh, maybe if my neighbor's doing that, maybe I can recycle and compost too. And if my neighbor does that, then the other neighbor will, So everything that you do, every word you say, shares some values. I should say every word, but every sentence, every paragraph you say shares values that give permission to other people. So it's more ripple effect than you can even imagine. One of the things that I'm saying as a regular truth that I say to myself every day is that what I do today affects 100 people's lives that I cannot even imagine and cannot even see. It probably affects more than 100 people because of the ripple effect. Okay? And also, why we do mindful activism is that it creates such great satisfaction and fulfillment in our lives to know that every action, every word is going toward the good. Isn't that powerful? Every word and every action in your life can go toward the good, and it gives you great satisfaction and fulfillment to know that, and it gives you great empowerment. I want to empower you to know how much of a difference you make every hour of every day of your life. Even if you are alone, okay? Even if you are alone and taking some action, you know what a difference you're making? You're making a difference in your mind, in your subconscious mind, creating a pattern and enforcing certain values so that the next time you are with someone or next time you are sharing on social media and commenting on something, those values actually seep out without you having to even try. So even the actions you take alone strengthen the values that then seep out into the world when you are taking actions in front of other people, right? Okay, so how do we get into mindful activism? So my suggestion is to gradually integrate the ideas from this mind map, one by one, so that it is sustainable and enjoyable for you. Again, gradually, I'm going to give you a lot of ideas in this 5-part framework, and I just invite you to today take one idea and say, gosh, which of the ideas did George share that I'm inspired by can I implement into my life today? And so I do invite you to comment on our episode. Any ideas you're hearing from me that's resonating with you, comment and let me know and let others know, and this will further reinforce your learning. And thank you, Barbara Freeman, for being here and sharing with me and being present for this episode. Really appreciate you. All right, so let's go on to the 5-part framework. Okay, so let me first share with you the 5-part framework, and then I'm going to go deeply into this first part today, and I'll go into the other parts in the coming episodes. So first of all, the 5-part framework, I've basically created it to me, is sort of comprehensive to everything we could do in our life to be mindfully active. And the first part is really greening what you consume. The products, the services, and the habits in your life make a difference beyond what you can imagine. So with regards to products and services, did you know that every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of world you want? For example, if you buy a product from a socially responsible, environmentally responsible company, you are putting your dollar towards that company so that they can expand and expand those values in the world. On the other hand, if you spend money with a company that, you know, markets junk food to children, you will give them strength to do more of that in the world. Do you see what I mean? Same thing with services. If you buy from a company whose services produce, well, if beyond giving you great services, they also give great, do good works in their community. They do good works for other people who don't even benefit from their services or who don't even buy from them. Then you are strengthening that company's ability to do that in the world. If you buy from a company who doesn't care a damn about the community they're in, then you strengthen that selfish motive and that selfish value. Every dollar you spend has tremendous ripple effect beyond what you can imagine. So I want you to imagine the biggest ripple effect you can, because actually it goes even bigger than that. Okay? And same thing with your habits. What you do with your free time, even if you're alone. So for example, in my free time, you know, after work I want to just play and I want to just, you know, watch silly movies and whatever. And I do that sometimes, but I try to say, gosh, maybe I can spend 5 minutes watching a useful documentary that is probably entertaining anyway, and I'll learn something, and that'll, you know, and if I spend even just 5 minutes watching it, I'll find out, gosh, this is an entertaining document. I'm having fun watching this documentary, and I'm learning something, and if I like this documentary, I'll then share it on social media, which we'll talk about later, intentional social media, and that'll benefit other people. You see, everything you do makes a difference, even if you think it doesn't, right? So let's go ahead and talk, well, let me kind of walk through the rest of the framework, and then I'll go into this first part. So the next part of the framework, intentional social media, I've already suggested this, which is everything you say on Facebook strengthens some kind of values that you are sharing in the world, and that values then strengthens other people. And I'll talk about this the next time. But what you do, studies have shown that how you are on social media actually affects the happiness of your social media friends, and that affects the happiness of their families, and so on and so forth. So you are making a difference every time you post on Facebook. The question is, what kind of difference are you making, right? So let's be intentional about that. The third one is helping those you can most help. Now, what I meant by this, and I would really love your feedback on this, is that I have a choice. I can go and learn all about third world poverty and then try to make a difference for the third world. Okay? And I know relatively little about how to help third world poverty. Of course, I've given money to give food and, you know, shared videos about it, but I know relatively little about third world development and international aid and all that stuff, right? But what I can help is the people in my community that are going through a particular problem that I have been able to solve myself. You know, and if I have solved a recent problem, you know, if I figured something out, I mean, even something as simple as if I have figured out how to use a particular software and I see online someone is asking about how to use that software, I could just say, well, good luck. Or I could, as part of my mindful activism, as part of my volunteering time, I can go and help someone use that software, even though that person is not an ideal client and may never buy from me, may never refer me. But I'm helping that person because I just figured out how to do that thing. I'm helping the person I can most help. And if I inspire that person to say, all right, go and help this person, go and pay it forward and help someone else with the software, then the world can truly be effective. Whereas if I spent years learning about international aid. You see what I mean? So my vision for helping those you can most help is if we each just help someone that is going through a problem that we have gone through and help them, Okay. Now, chances are you've never lived in a third world country. You haven't risen from the ranks of being born into a third world country and going through that poverty. So you don't really know what it's like. So you would have to go and live with them to really know what it's like. I mean, even living with them for a few days doesn't really tell you what it's like to be in that situation. So it's really hard to help. Do you see what I mean? So helping those you can most help is much more efficient. If everyone could just do that, if everyone could cascade down, for example, the third world poverty example. Someone who grew up in third world poverty but somehow was able to raise himself up and then go and create a successful life and a successful business, even in the third world, they are probably in a better situation to help their peers who haven't been able to create a successful livelihood in the third world. Do you see what I mean? So that's what I mean by helping those you can most help. And then basically, I know trickle down is a very bad word for some people, but I do believe in trickle down help. Maybe not trickle down economics I don't believe in, but trickle down help I do believe in. So the next one is improving your industry, and that's kind of going along the lines of helping those you can most help. You're working in an industry, and you are a core part of how that industry works. So for example, I am working in the online coaching, online consulting industry. So I'm always going to be thinking about how can I make my industry more honest? How can I make my industry more innovative? You see, so improving my industry makes a difference to my peers in industry. Therefore, it makes a difference for the clients that are helped by those peers. And therefore, there's a ripple effect yet again. How can I make my industry more compassionate? How can I make my industry less stressful? And whatever I can do to help my peers be more honest, be more brave, be more innovative, be more compassionate, be less stressed out, that affects their coworkers, that affects their clients, and onward, that affects the families of those clients. And it has this ripple effect that goes way beyond what I can imagine. So each of us can think about how we can help our industry. Our industry includes our workplace. It includes everyone we interact with in our work, okay? And it includes even our competitors, okay? Helping them so that they can help their customers, and so that the industry is then made better, and all the families of those people that are touched are made better. And then finally, and certainly not least, the part of the framework is citizenship. So not only are you a consumer, not only are you a social media user, not only are you a volunteer person, not only are you a worker, but you are a citizen, okay? And citizenship can be thought of as being a good citizen in your neighborhood, being a good citizen of your city, looking at the issues that your city is dealing with and which cities are relevant, which issues in your city are relevant, are most passionate for you that you can get involved with. There are certainly some issues in your city. If you look at the issues that the cities are dealing with, which ones are you more energized by? Well, go and do something to help them. The county, there are certainly issues that are regarding your county or the province that you live with, the state or the province that you live in. Your country certainly has issues, some of which you will be more likely to be energized by. And of course, being a global citizen, there are issues that affect all of us, no matter where you live on this planet. Which issues give you energy? And are you doing something about those issues that give you energy? So we'll be talking about those as well. And so this episode, really, we just begun talking about the 5-part framework. In the next 5 or 8 minutes, I'll talk about greening what you consume. And then the next couple episodes, I'll talk about these other 4 pieces of the framework. And finally, we'll end this 4-part series with an interview with Kathleen LeMay, who wrote The Generosity Plan, which is one of the best books I've ever read on mindful activism. And I'm just really excited to interview her and bring her to you. So let me just take a quick look as let me open this branch of greening what you consume. And let me actually just take a quick look at the comments to see if there are any other folks who are commenting. Thank you, Barbara, for commenting actively, and Kay Williams is also listening live and commenting today, so thank you so much to the 2 of you. Okay, so with regards to greening what you consume, which, by the way, if you are alive on this planet, you are almost certainly consuming, buying stuff, right? So if you are buying stuff, you can make a big difference. So really the first question to ask yourself is, what kind of world do you want to live in? What kind of values? Okay, so in your ideal world, how do companies behave? In your ideal world, how do companies treat our natural environment? In your ideal world, how do companies treat their employees and their vendors? Okay? Because how a company treats their workers and their vendors greatly affects how family members treat each other. Here's what I mean. A person, one of the greatest difficulties in families is the workers in that family and how they are treated by their bosses, right? If someone is not being treated well by their boss or by their coworkers, they tend to bring that negative energy back home, and that affects the children, that affects even the neighbors, that affects that person's friends. Studies have shown that your happiness is actually affected not only by the happiness of your friends, but the happiness of your friends' friends. That's how the ripple effect works. So in the ideal world, how do you want your companies, how do you want your bosses to treat their workers? Okay? How do you want the companies in your ideal world to treat their customers? Do you want the companies to care about the health of their customers and not just how much profit they can make, the lifetime customer value, but to actually care about the health and the well-being of their customers? Do you want the companies in your ideal world, how do they treat their community that they situate themselves in? Do you want them polluting their community and not caring about what the issues are in their community? Or do you want the companies to be cognizant of what significant issues are affecting their community and how they can help out too, right? And in your ideal world, how do people behave toward their environment, toward their neighbors, toward their family, and how do people behave in their spare time? So step by step, gradually shift your consumption in the direction where you are supporting companies that are building your ideal world. Okay? And by you doing that, you give permission to your family members to do that too. Now, it's not like once you change your habits, suddenly your family members are going to change their habits too. It usually doesn't happen that quickly, but it certainly plants an important seed in their mind, and eventually they will change. It's in small ways or in big ways, they will change. Your family will change based on what you are doing. Your friends will change. Your coworkers, the people you see on a regular basis will start to change just based on how you are behaving, what companies you are supporting. Okay? All right. The next question so the first question I asked you was, what kind of world do you want to live in? It's important to ask yourself that question. What kind of companies, therefore, do you want to support, right? The next question I want you to ask yourself is, what kind of impact are you already having? This is important to know, because if you don't already know what kind of impact you're already having, how can you know that you're making a better difference, right? How can you know that you are lessening your negative impact and improving your positive impact? And one way to, well, it's easier. I mean, in terms of positive impact, you can basically imagine every time you do something good, there's a good ripple effect in the world. But what about the negative impacts that you're creating that you don't even know about? I think it's important for us as responsible people to have a sense of this so that we can start to lessen our negative impact and at the same time increase our positive impact. Okay, so do you know if everyone on Earth were to live as you live, how many Earths would we need? Now, there's a fun way to calculate this, and I give this to you in the mind map, but it's basically by footprintnetwork.org. There's a calculator there. I'll give you the link in the episode notes page, and of course it's in the mind map as well. So go and play with that. It's quite fun. I just did it last night, and they gave me some very good ideas for how I can lessen my impact as a result. All right. Now, sometimes people think, well, I have no idea how to make the world a better place, so I'm just going to live my life and then give money to charity on the side. That's good, that's helpful, but it's not good enough, because the people who say, well, I'm just going to live my normal life and then give money to charity, it's like, one quote I saw was like, it's kind of like making money from tobacco stocks and then giving to American Lung Association on the side. Okay. So it's sort of like you are, or if you care about the environment, it's sort of like supporting companies that pollute the environment and then giving to Greenpeace on the side. You're kind of canceling yourself out, barely, maybe not even canceling yourself out. So really, you have to look at your own daily actions and just don't be guilty and all that stuff. Just tweak your daily actions one by one by one by one. Just over time, and you will make a big difference over time. Okay? So the thing I want to show you, I'll let you explore the mind map in other ways, but I have another a mind map that's called Mindful Consumption that I think you'll find very helpful. And I will link that into the show notes as well. But if you click on here, that'll go to the Mindful Consumption Mind Map, and I'll show you what it looks like just very briefly. In the Mindful Consumption Mind Map, I've been working hard on this in the last couple of weeks, and basically I have given you the various categories that most of us buy from. Personal care products. Some of you, those of you who have children, children and kid products. Those of you who have pets, pet products, and of course all of us tend to buy household appliances and household products. Also, how you bank, what kind of bank you use, how you invest, okay, what kind of food you buy, what kind of cars you invest in, what kind of cars you buy, what kind of airlines you use, what kind of clothing you buy, the electronics you buy, the fuel, gas, oil, petrol you buy. Also, what kind of online shopping you do. Okay, so there's just a lot of rich resources. For example, if I open up the personal care, I've given you some wonderful resources for a website that has rated over 100,000 personal care products. And there's also a guide to how to those of you who use cosmetics, how do you find safer cosmetics and safer sunscreens. Okay, and how do you find products that are not animal tested for those of us who care about animals? Okay, so just lots of wonderful resources here. Banking is another favorite of mine, so I want you to check out the banking tab as well. Okay, investing is another wonderful one. Now, there's a lot more I could say about green investing that I will be adding to this mind map in the future. But one of the first things I want you to consider is peer-to-peer lending. So instead of playing the stock market and supporting a bunch of companies, you don't know what those companies are doing, right? Consider peer-to-peer lending, like Lending Club and Prosper, where you can earn 7 to 12% steady returns. That's right, 7 to 12% steady annual returns, and you're not supporting big companies that you have no idea what they're doing. Instead, you're supporting individuals who are trying to get better rates on their mortgages or trying to take down their credit card debt. You're helping those people. Okay. Anyway, with that, I think I will end the episode. Let me bring the screen share back. I really hope you found this episode to be helpful. I hope you'll let me know in the episode notes page what idea you found most inspiring and maybe something you plan to do. And I hope you'll take a look at the episode notes page to see what others perhaps plan to do, one thing they plan to do going forward. And last, I want to share with you a wonderful letter Okay, so I think there was just a glitch in the system. I'm back. I hope you're still with me. But I was just saying, I want to share with you a letter that I got from listener Paul. And part of the letter he wrote, I download your podcast and then try to listen when I'm in the gym as often as possible. I wanted to say just how inspiring your podcasts are, and I look forward to listening to each one. I really think it's such a shame that children aren't taught these subjects that you touch on in school. They aren't taught these things, and if they were taught these things, I believe it would make a personal and business life much easier, more enjoyable, and more successful in every way. So I just want to thank you, Paul, for that letter. So I'm requesting for your feedback about this podcast. What's something I'm doing well that I should continue to do? And even what's something that I can improve upon? Because I'm always looking to make these podcasts more useful, more digestible, more attractive to you, so that you can really continue to listen and watch and learn and grow, and hopefully as a result we can build a community that lasts, that is helpful to you and even lasts beyond the podcast. So I welcome you to share with me your thoughts by going to www.ourhighestwork.com and either posting on our episode pages or posting in our Facebook group or contacting me there that you can find via email. So I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, keep your thoughts positive and keep your love flowing. Be well.